what I was thinking? How do you want me to address you? Is it brother, brother Charles, cousin Charles?
Whichever you comfortable with.
All right, okay.
I'm
gonna say brother Charles, brother Charles.
But that's, I mean, you can say that I'm your cousin, and everybody grew up calling me brother, and you just continue to do that. That's fine with me.
That's good. That'll work. That'll work.
Because that's the way it is.
That's good. So did you catch the program?
Oh yeah, we saw the whole thing, 7 to 10. That was all
7
right.
to 10, 3 hours. I thought it was 2. It was a full 3.
3 hours. 3 hours.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you and Colette were able to get in there, so that was good.
It was good, and we had Uncle Ronnie on Zoom too, of my cousin Kenyatta, Hazel's daughter, and so we watched it together, and we thought it was good. It's all about just making it clear to the world, you know, who Dad was, because no one really knows. He's like, he was that background, like we all know Jam Master Jay with Run DMC. We know Kid Capri and a lot of the turntable DJ classics. But Dad was like the original DJ, and there's a lot of hype about the poets, but not the drummer. So that's what we thought was funny, and that's why we're doing this series.
Well, I'm just glad. Which one was it? Olawayo Way or whatever that said talked about Nilaja, you know,
right?
And then talked about your mom. He said, and so I'm glad to hear that part.
Yeah,
and Nick picked up on that too. So
yeah,
that was good.
It was good. It was good. As we were watching it too, we just want to make sure, you know, media is powerful in your editing. We want to make sure people connect, because they kept saying Nilaja, but for the average Joe, let's say a college student that's not familiar with the name, they might think Nilaja is an African soup, or they might think that drummer was Nilaja.
I would have liked for them to have said Raymond Hurrey, who was the drummer, and we called him Nilaja. That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, the clarity, because
he was the original drummer on this 1970 album, on our first album, you know, something like that. So
the clarity, because they were mentioned, as Umar was mentioned, and Umar did great, you know, telling the story about, you know, I liked how Umar shared, I never knew it, that Dad was against the Niggas Are Scared of Revolution track a few times. But the cutaways to Don, their current drummer, can confuse the eye.
It was, yeah.
Like they're thinking, oh, that's Nilaja. Oh, that's Nilaja. So I'm going to post some things about that. I am in touch with the young lady who is in charge of their Facebook page, and she's great. She's cool. We're talking, and I think they had to put it together quick. It wasn't purposeful. It's just about good storytelling.
My position is, it's 50 years since that first album, right? That's what he said.
50.
Right? The drummer that's there now was not the drummer on the 1970 album. So give Mac that credit for that 50-year piece. You're not trying to steal or take anything away what they're doing in the future or what they did after him. But that 1970 piece was him. And then that way the world would know who Raymond Nilaja Hurrey is.
That's right.
Maybe I'm selfish because that's my cousin, you know.
Yeah, no, but you're right. You're exactly right.
But that's the way, because I was confused. I said, that's what I'm saying. Like you said, it's the editor who put it together, the producer and the editor, and they determined, unfortunately, what was important.
That's it.
And that's the beauty of you doing this, because this is important.
Yes, and it comes right from his family. You know, there's no need for us to lie or tweak it. We just want the truth out there.
That's it. So I'm saying, make it so that you see who the original people were.
Indeed.
And there should have been, in my feeble opinion, because if I were editing and putting something together, I would have said the original members for this 1970 album were, and then you could say Raymond Nilaja Hurrey is no longer with us, but his memory is still here, and we honor him for this record.
That's it.
And later on in the program, you will hear from his children, his two children. And since he's not here, he's represented by them. And that would, to me, would have brought it full circle. I mean, because there were a lot of other different poets, but again, the buildup said 50 years from that album.
For that first album.
Which was 1970.
1970.
Right, 1970. So when you say 1970 plus 50, that's 2020.
That's it.
Right, which is now. And they highlighted that album. So, as they say, you know, when we talking and you're playing, give the drummer some. You know,
yeah, that's it.
Give the drummer some.
That's it. That's it.
And I would have appreciated that. I knew. And I had to explain to Joy and Nicholas a little bit more, because they said, because I was on my phone and they texted and said, what's Colette and Ayan, what's their daddy's African name? And you know, I text back and said Nilaja. They said, oh, I thought they were saying Elijah. And then they said, but when they said we had to ask Ann, they said, oh, we put it together. Nilaja. You know what I'm saying? So, like you say, that the average person would not have known that.
They're not going to connect words like Ann, Nilaja. And so that's why the visual, you know, is so important and taking the time. But all it did, okay, I think, how do I progress? It means I do another video that shows the clarity, shows it 3 albums. Okay, it just gives me more work to do, but it's great work. That's telling me, all right, in this venture I have with telling the world about Dad, and from seeing the anniversary piece, okay, I got some more work to do. Let me make this clear in another video.
And they need to understand, you're highlighting your father is not taking anything away from the group, The Last Poets.
Not at all.
And that needs, to me, if that's understood, then everything would be okay. Because I would hate for them to think that you were trying to profiteer from The Last Poets.
Right.
And you're not doing that. You're not trying to take anything away from The Last Poets. You're highlighting one member who is your father, and for him to get his proper due and respect.
That's all it is.
And to me, I don't see how they can begrudge you of doing that.
No.
Joy Dixon, who was the gentleman who was it playing the drum? Who's playing the drum?
His name is Don Babatunde, is what I call him.
Don. When Marie Joy Nick said, shoot, they should have had the end day playing on there for his dad. He should have been on there doing that. Really. I mean, full circle. I mean, because I said that would have been great. You know,
it would have really been beautiful.
Not there, but here's his son, who he taught from the time he was 5 years old on, and look at the spirit here. Now, that would have been great. But anyway, that's not why.
Yeah, it would have really been. It would have come that full circle. Yeah, and there's some other things I'm working on, but just the fact, you know, I'm fortunate to still be here, be alive, and to have talent. And that is such a huge marketing tool for any, you know, you see a lot of these artists, old school hip hop artists, and it's like, wow, man, that's his son. Oh, snap, he can play. Oh, man, call that brother. Let's collab on a project.
That's it.
And that's what it's about. And it comes back to what you were saying about pay that homage, pay that respect. Oh, snap. Last Poets, this Nilaja's son, man, get him on the phone. He can drum what? And so, just like Joy and Nick said, it's like, where are those sensibilities? So, and it's also like you said, this is not about, you know, my project, this venture that everyone's helping on. It's not about the poets.
That's right.
It's about Dad, plain and simple. And guess what? He just so happened to be a part of this revolutionary group called the Poets. Oh, snap, he was? Oh, man. Yeah, but guess what else he did? Guess who else he was? Because after all, y'all don't know who he was. He was just the mysterious dude in the back chilling with the Congas, but providing that beat for the lyricists.
He gave, they say the beat gives the soul. Well, what is it? That the beat gives it the soul and gives everything the spirit. And that's why, you know, when they told that story about Matt, about where he didn't feel it when they first started with the lyrics and the rapping, he didn't play with it because it was something wasn't there, and that was your dad. I mean, the feeling wasn't there. So he said no, and they had to do it 4 times. And then went to your mother, said, "Come on, Ann, talk to him, talk to him." Said, no, you know, when it's right, it'll be right. And then then it got right, and he was okay. And you know, and what's interesting to me was I look, and I'm always wondering, because Joy Nicholas gave me my name with Charles and what it means. And we named Joy, and that's Woman of God, and with Nick, you know, we do all that. So I said, I was gonna look up Nilaja.
Right.
You know what the meaning of Nilaja is. I said, let me exactly see what Nilaja means.
Right.
That's your dad.
Yeah.
Nilaja is, when I looked at it, says peacekeeper, one who avoids trouble, one who has patience, one who has the great intuition, and one who has the ability to nurture others. That's your father.
Do you know, I didn't know that, Brother Charles. I didn't. To this day, I've never looked up Nilaja. I would Google it, of course, with the world of Google and other stuff come up. But the meaning I didn't know. Thank you for that. You just gave me some information that's the whole reason we're doing this. That's invaluable.
That's your father. I mean, when I look, I mean, that's him. I mean, because he was a nurturer.
Right.
And he kept the peace. You know, he avoided trouble. He didn't run from it. Now, don't get me wrong now. He didn't run from it.
Right.
But he knew how to deal with it and could diffuse different situations. And you think about the stories that they told last night now, when they were relating to him, and the things that he could do and how he added to that music. And to me, that confirmed a whole lot of things. I look at your father when he, when you say nurturing, and I hope you don't mind. I know you said, I'm just gonna, if you don't mind, go with the flow for something.
No, of course you have to. Yes, that's what it's about. Yeah.
And I think I asked you before if you remembered how you first started playing the drums. He started you playing on it was called the Royal Crown can. It was red, small, a little can. And remember now, at 4 or 5, your hands aren't so big anyway.
Yeah.
And that's how he started teaching you to play.
And so it was a can small. The brand name was Royal.
Royal Crown.
Royal Crown can.
Royal Crown grease.
Okay.
And you've seen the Maury grease can?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
About that same size.
All right.
And he taught you every day.
Wow.
That's how you learn to play. Right there on 1007 North John Street.
1007 North John
Street. That's where you learn to play.
Wow.
He started you on that can. And then you move from there on up to some other drums. But that's where you started. Every day he taught you. He taught you. He's working with you. He's working with you. And he poured all of him into you, Allende.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you hear it all the time.
Yes, yeah. A lot of people.
That's why.
Mm-hmm.
He poured all himself into you. And you were there. John Nicholas saw the picture that you had posted with him in the white with the two Conga drums.
Okay.
Right. I think it was when you would the picture where the post where you had about you and Colette being on
right.
last night.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
That was in the background. And John Nicholas said, "Oh man, look at Allende in the background."
Uh-huh.
Oh, Joy, that's not Allende. Yes, it is Allende. I said, no, that's his daddy. You know, they made that picture make sense. Oh man,
yeah,
he looks just like him.
For real.
I said he acts like him and has his daddy's spirit.
Wow.
So,
and I've heard that a lot, man, and to hear you say it, you know, especially, you know, as close as you are, word to him, I know you got no need to sugarcoat it. And I'm just doing what I do, you know.
And that's why, you know, your spirit he has your spirit, you have his spirit. It's you're carrying him, and you always have. You may not have realized it. You may have tried to run from it.
Right. But, yes. Yeah.
And I will. That's a different story.
Right. I feel you. I know.
But
I understand.
Yeah. Right. I mean, because, you know, we all say no. I don't want to be. You know, my daddy. You know, you hear that, but he poured himself into you, and not only you, but Colette.
Yes.
And your mother too. But it's something about that, as they say, that male child, you know.
Yes.
The daddy and that male child to carry on.
Yeah.
And he did that. And he did that. And so, and you just took it and you just continued with it.
Right.
Really think about it now. It was an innate ability, it seemed like, for you to just pick it up and just to continue with it.
Right.
Because how old were you when Matt passed? 8 or 9?
I think I was 7. Yeah. Okay. He passed in 1981. I think I was 7. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So just think from 4, and he probably started you before then.
Yeah, he started. Mom told me when I was 3.
2. Yeah, I say 2 or 3. Yeah.
2 or 3. He started me out, and that must be them can days.
Yeah.
Them Royal Crown can days. She said 3.
That's right. And just think about that. And I mean, every day I'd come and he'd be working with you.
Wow.
And he'd spend time with you, of course, with Colette too. You know, but you were interested in learning how to play too. And it just continued. I mean, really. You know, you may not remember. Who can you remember who actually showed you and taught you how to play?
Yeah, I grew up with several drum teachers, and that's a funny question, Cousin Charles, because I remember a couple of times with Dad because I was so young. But then I got older and had like other drum teachers. but they were teaching me the West African.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Dad had the Conga,
Mm-hmm.
and I think right when he got sick was when he started really connecting hard with Chuck Davis, with Chuck.
Right. That's right.
But before Dad could learn the West African, you know, he got sick, you know, he passed away. But the Conga was his thing. And the hilarious thing, cousin, is I've been trained so much on the West African, but just when you talk about things like, you know, Dad's spirit being in me and everything, it's evident because with the Conga, I didn't have a lot of Conga time with Dad. It was Bata.
I was about to say it's the Bata.
It was the Bata drum you put on your lap, pum 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 here.
That's
but
right.
Not this. But yet I feel like I do halfway decent with these. But you know, I enjoy it. But I've never had a Conga teacher per se. It would have been Dad.
Right.
You know, and I always think like, hey, you know, I mentioned it in the interview with Mom. Just me and him playing together is like a wish, if I could wish anything.
That's
right. You know,
to
share the stage with him.
That's right.
And both of us have a pair of Congas and we kick it.
That's right. But that Bata, you know, I remember you sitting there with the smaller drum, with the smaller one.
Right.
And you all, really, he had you on that playing. And I have no picture of it other than in my mind, you know, but he had you on there. And and you know, it's just refreshing. And I it's just does my spirit good to see you doing what you're doing. To honor him.
Thank you.
I mean, really.
Thank you.
And I know Ann, I know your mother's proud too. Because when you all even moved to Goldsboro, they talked about the porch. They talked about, you know, I remember the names last night. I said, oh, so that's who so-and-so was. Oh, that's who this, you know, I remember some of those names. And never really saw the faces other than just on the albums. But I remember your mother and father talking about them, you know, and those types of things. And and those experiences were influential into what they did to start the cultural movement.
Yeah.
Because
that's good.
Yeah, they wanted to bring that influence from there to Goldsboro from an educational standpoint.
Didn't have any of that culture or anything.
Right. Yeah. And got started, and they immersed you and Colette in it, you know, and then those types of things. And they, you know, let me tag along a little bit, you know, and look at how it grew, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and whatever.
Yeah, tell us, Brother Charles, tell the folk at home a little bit about yourself, who you are, whatever you want to share, where you're from, just so we could just know who this amazing person is talking about, Dad.
All right. Well, of course, I am Charles Artis. As I say, I grew up, said I was Charles Q. Quincy Artis, but I was Charles Artis.
But you're also a Q, literally.
Yeah, I'm also a Q. I'm also an
Omega Psi Phi. Yes.
Who knew that? Back then, when I was named that. Yeah. But born in New Jersey, but came back to Goldsboro with my mother, and grew up. And my mother is your grandfather's sister.
That's right.
So, and your mother and I are first cousins. All right. And so I consider your father my cousin also, but we were more like brothers, I would say.
Right.
And I left Goldsboro in high school, 17, went to Hampton. Back then it was Institute, now it's University. Got my bachelor's in marketing, and started working in finance, banking and finance. Started really working with the finance company at first, left Goldsboro, and started working with the bank. It's called CNS Bank, Citizen Southern Bank in South Carolina, and left CNS Bank after about 20 years and started working. I left there as an assistant vice president, the banking center manager.
Wow.
And went to work at South Carolina State University as a program coordinator with it was called the 1890 Research and Extension Program, but I was the program coordinator for the state for community economic development and adult leadership, and retired from there in 2016.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
You know, and basically have been here since 1978, 79. And that's pretty much my background.
Okay.
After school, I worked in Greenville, North Carolina. And your mother and father they came back to Goldsboro because Uncle Leroy, who's of course her father,
right,
passed in 1975. And Aunt Nettie, who's your grandmother, her mother,
right, that's right,
Nettie Clark, was home by herself.
Called her Granny, oh Granny, yeah,
home by herself. And Ann and Mac decided to come back to Goldsboro.
From New York.
Because she was here by herself.
Right.
And we just reconnected again for that short period that I was home. And they were decided to start the cultural movement. And it was a great venture. I don't consider myself very musically talented or anything, but to make it work, we needed to make it formalized, make it a formal organization.
Right.
So my role in the whole situation was to make it what we would call a legitimate, and I won't say legitimate, but make it an organization that would allow it to stay.
That's right.
And so we made it a nonprofit organization for the state of North Carolina.
Okay.
So we did the paperwork and those types of things. And right at the time when we were getting ready to file and get everything done is when I got transferred and had to leave.
Wow.
Goldsboro. And
you went to South Carolina. That's when you went to South Carolina.
No, I left, believe it or not, I left and got promoted to a position in a town called Welch, West Virginia.
Okay, you mentioned that to me. Right. That's when Dad helped you move.
Yeah, I never heard
of it. After you left there.
Yeah, never heard of it. But believe it or not, that's where Steve Harvey's from. I found that out later.
Yeah, okay.
One of my proudest things, you can see in the corner, there's a little trophy. I was doing cleaning up.
Yeah.
And this was in my closet. You can see this. But in 1978, when I left, this says Charles Adeyemi Artis, the cultural movement, August 1978.
What? That's what they gave you?
I was given this for being a part of the cultural movement when I left.
Wow.
We had a nice little party, or not necessarily a party, but a get together. That I would say was a send off for me to go, to leave, for my small contribution.
Oh man! What? Did you just find that? Did you just find it?
I knew it was here.
Yeah.
I've kept it all these years.
Wow.
I've kept it all these years, and it was in my closet. And I said I have to show this to you after we talked.
Perfect timing, man. I wonder if mom remembers that too. You know this.
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, she's gonna remember the day. So she'll love it. It's
Yeah.
good.
So, and that was really something.
Mm,
And I went to West Virginia,
mm,
and I was told that at the time, if I didn't like West Virginia,
mm-hmm.
that I could ask for a transfer, and they would move me from West Virginia back to North Carolina if possible.
Right.
And of course, that was August. So I was up there. That was the end of August. So September, I did not like West Virginia.
Right. Right.
So I was in September, October, November. I asked to be transferred.
Mm-hmm.
They allowed me to be transferred.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I could not get to North Carolina. I was closest place was South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So I came to South Carolina, and it was during the winter. So I kept my apartment in West Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
and the company paid for housing for me until I could move in South Carolina. So in the spring, I said, I need to get an apartment,
Mm-hmm.
Get my stuff from there.
Mm-hmm.
And Mac, your dad, said, I'll help you move.
Yeah.
So I rented a U-Haul,
Mm-hmm.
picked them up, went up to West Virginia. I had 1-bedroom apartment,
Uh-huh.
loaded up, appliances and everything. And I said, but Matt, you want to spend the night? He said, oh no, we're getting out of here.
Yeah.
We left the mountains.
One-stop shop. You want to keep it moving.
We loaded up, left the mountains, and came back, stopped in Goldsboro.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day, came on to South Carolina, unloaded everything,
Mm-hmm.
and then took him back to Goldsboro.
And it was just you and Dad on this mission. You and Dad on the moving mission.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And dropped him off, and came back. I dropped the truck off. Basically that was it. But we had a good relationship. I mean, I can't remember us arguing in it at any time or getting upset about anything.
Wow.
And that's what I meant about your father being patient, and even kill. I mean, we were more like brothers than in-laws or anything like that.
Yeah,
and,
I understand.
And that was good. And I'll digress. I don't know if you can remember, was it 1981 or so?
Mm-hmm.
The culture movement, you all as a dance company,
Mm-hmm.
came to Orangeburg, South Carolina, if you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Stayed in my apartment.
I remember faintly. Yeah, I do.
Did a performance at the Henderson Davis Theater on the campus of South Carolina State University.
Yeah, because I remember it was like we did a workshop. It felt like a gym auditorium kind of a thing.
Well, it was actually a theater.
It was a theater. Okay. But I felt like it was a big, I felt like it was a lot of space, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, yeah, it was. It was, and
because I remember staying at your house. You had a sliding glass door, if I remember, in that apartment. Right. Yeah, I remember.
That's it. So, and I tried my best to get you all back down there, but things just didn't work.
Right.
Where you all could come back. And my wife Marie even tried later on after we got married. I was single at that time.
Right.
But that was it.
I can faintly remember that. All of us packed in your apartment and we stayed the night. I remember.
That's right.
I remember, Chuck.
That's right.
Now that you brought it up, it's been a while, but we were all in that apartment, chilling, having a good time. And I remember the sliding glass door.
Yep. Yep, we had a good time.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have to ask your mother if she has the picture of my first, when I did the narration, dressed in all white.
Right.
Up on stage or whatever. And
I'm sure
but
she does, Brother Charles. Mom has a ton of pictures, and the photos that I've been using to do Dad's channel, the Facebook page. It's
mhm,
photos I grabbed like last summer when I was home,
mhm,
knowing that I was going to do this. But no, there's still tons of pictures. I'm sure
yeah,
she has that picture. I'm sure.
yeah.
Now look,
But
tell us about. I don't know if people caught on the Adeyemi name
all right,
on
okay.
the
Since I
award.
was right, since I was part of the group, so I had to have an African name.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt said, I know the perfect name for you. And he said, you will be known as Adeyemi.
Mm-hmm.
I said, Matt, why? Well, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
And he says, brother, there's something about you. And don't take this the wrong way, because you don't consider yourself above anyone, but you just fit in. And Adeyemi means the crown fits him well.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, but people get the wrong meaning, thinking I'm royalty or think I'm above. Says no, that the crown fits you well means that you are a people person and you do what you can to help other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how I got Adeyemi. And
All right.
uh, and my kids said John Nicholas, and they said, "Oh, that was your other life. There was a name of your other life."
That's
So
it. Yeah.
Adeyemi, that's it.
And
So
I remember a
so
time
that
when like a
is.
lot of the company members, it might have been when Dad passed, but Mom, like they each took on like their own African name as part of the cultural
Mm-hmm.
movement, and they had T-shirts with the
Mm-hmm.
African name on it.
Right.
And they had this book of African names, and I think it was the same book that Mom and Dad got my name from. And they let company members go through, look at the meaning, and
Mm-hmm.
then choose if that was them. It was kind of
Yeah.
like a cool
That's good.
club thing. But I remember you mentioning me to the Adeyemi
Right.
and wanted everybody,
Yeah. See,
you
I
know.
was fortunate enough where he actually named me. So I didn't get to choose the name. He
Right.
just said,
He gave you
"This
one.
is what your name will be."
Yes.
Right.
And that's good.
Right.
That's even more of the weight of that culture, and how much Dad thought about you, man. That's what I'm thinking. Your
Yeah.
close
Yeah.
relationship. He didn't do it lightly, I'm sure.
No. And when I came here, and I would go home not every weekend,
Mm-hmm.
but when I would go to Goldsboro after your father got sick, I
Mm-hmm.
had two stops that I
Mm-hmm.
had to make.
Mm-hmm.
Your cousin Johnny, your Uncle Johnny wasn't in Goldsboro. So I had
Right.
two stops. At two stops, I would go see my mother,
Mm-hmm.
go home. After I would leave from them, I would go to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And I would spend a lot of time with your mother at the
Mm-hmm.
hospital. And it got to the point where, the hospital visiting hours would be over, because I would
Mm-hmm.
come right after work on a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And a friend of mine, Melvin Smith, said, don't worry, we can get in the hospital. I'll show you how to get in. And it got to the point where when nurses and people saw me after hours, they may not know my name. Oh, hey, you here to see Mr. Hurrey? No
Mm-hmm.
problem. And and I would spend that time with him and your mother, and because he meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
So anyway, I we'll move on from there.
Yeah,
But
no, that's good. And for all of those who are watching, my father passed from a malignant brain tumor, and
right,
that's what eventually caused him to pass on. So Brother Charles is talking about those times when he was very instrumental in just being awesome support, as always, to the family. Let me see what questions I have here. We're having such a good conversation. Let's
yeah, see what's left.
Let's see what's left. Yeah, because we probably get it all. Let me see. What's a good one here? Do you remember the first time you met Dad? That memory. The first time you saw this guy.
Yeah, when he and your mother got married.
Okay, at the house.
Very first time they got married in Goldsboro,
right,
at your granny's house.
Right at the house. We have the pictures, yeah.
Right.
And that was the first time you saw him?
That was the first time I saw him. I heard about him.
Yeah.
Of course.
Of course, yeah.
But that was the first time I saw him. And there was just something about him. I said, man, this guy's, back then, he's pretty cool. I said, he's all right.
Yeah. It was a good first impression.
Yeah. And maybe because they asked me to be the ring bearer, but I don't know. But that's my first time meeting him, and for the wedding, and and our relationship, for some reason, and for people to know, I'm 10 years younger than your mother and your father.
Okay.
They're 10 years older than me. But they got married, of course, 10 years. You know, I was a little child and we couldn't hang together.
Right.
Of course, as you get older, those 10 years don't seem that big of a gap.
Right.
So I was a freshman at Hampton. And I think I told you, I was on the debate team.
Okay.
And,
yeah, you mentioned it.
So I called them. We went and had a debate at NYU, New York University.
Okay.
So I called and said, I'm in town. I cannot remember the hotel. I don't remember where they were staying. But he caught the train, got the subway, caught the train, went to the hotel, got me. We went back on the train, went to y'all's apartment. I saw Ann and Colette and stayed a little while. And then he said, Ann, I'm taking brother on to town. And she showed me New York.
Yeah.
Man, I'm in New York, and he said, and talked the train. He said, I'm going to take you back to the hotel so you won't get lost out here. And then he went back home. And then, because I was a freshman in 1969.
Right.
1970, first album came. Your father called. He says, we will be performing at Hampton. Sure enough, they performed at Hampton. And I was telling people, oh man, I got my cousin's a drummer, the Last Poets, right? No.
They thought you were talking, you're just big talk. Like, yeah.
Right. I said, okay, all right, that's fine. But he came and we got there and he called me out. And when I say call me out, recognized me in the crowd.
Yeah.
I came up on the stage. This is my cousin. And that was an awesome time.
Wow.
Awesome time. And then again, didn't see him again, of course, until they came back. You know, be in touch. We knew each other, but didn't see him again in 1976. And until I left, I would almost see him every day.
Wow.
And on the weekends, of course, through 1978 when I left. And then, of course, when he was sick, every other weekend. So just during that span of time, there's just a great relationship.
And I think I remember faintly, Cousin Charles, of you really being at the house a lot. You were there often. It was nothing for you to just stop by. Now that you mention it, I remember.
Yeah.
I remember. What do you miss most about Dad? Yeah.
His presence. Just
being around.
Being here. I think we were here, someone that I really could talk to, and we could just do things together. I just miss him being here. So what do I miss? I miss everything about him.
Yeah.
I miss him. If you, I can't put it in any other words.
I know what you mean.
Miss him.
Right. The whole of his
Yeah.
presence, just I understand.
Yeah.
Well, car ride. You tell, and I'm going back to how he helped you move.
Okay.
Car rides with fellas. That's when we do all of our like counseling, talking. I mean, that's what we do. Is there anything you remember during that mission of him helping you move from Virginia to South Carolina? Any one specific thing you remember in that conversation that was unique, funny, or what was the conversations like in that car during those hours?
Oh man, we talked about everything.
Things you can share, of course. I know sometimes fella talk is fella talk.
Yeah. Well, he talked about his love for his family. And how people would say it would be strange. Why would he uproot from New York?
Yes.
And come and stay in his mother-in-law's house with his wife and daughter. And because you were born in New York.
Right? Yeah, I was born in New York, right there
in New York.
I think it was Columbia Presbyterian, Mom said.
Right.
And so, but I was young. I was like maybe 2 or a year and a half year old.
Right.
2 years.
And for him to, bring his family.
Right.
And we talked, and he says, brother, there's nothing like family. You do what is necessary to keep your family together. And there's nothing, you only have one family. And you do not for just your family, but your wife is your queen. And he said he would do any and everything he could to support and help his wife.
Wow.
And that's why he came to Goldsboro, North Carolina with Ann and his 2 children. And he said, it may seem strange and people may wonder why. He said, but to him, he didn't have to think about it twice. Nettie was here by herself. She needed help. And when I say help, I mean, she was just here by herself. And so they decided together, he and Ann, to come. And so we talked about those types of things, and that there's no need for me to rush to try to get married and live life. He said he had no regrets. He said, but once you get married, your life and your time is not your own.
Right.
That time then becomes your family's time. All right. And once you have children, your time really becomes your children's time. And you do whatever you can to support and work with your children. And I reflected on how he spent time with you and Colette.
Right.
And and then I thought about it. I says, well, that's why it was no brainer for you to say, well, look, I'll help you move. I mean, I didn't ask him.
Right.
He just said, brother, you got anybody to help you move? I said, no, not really. He said, well, you do now. Just tell me when you need it. Just tell me when you need it. And we did that moving on a weekend.
Yeah.
On a Friday through a Sunday. And
because and I'm sorry to stop you, but I'm gonna forget if I don't ask you, or make this comment. Brother, that's one of the things. Like, to hear you. I mean, your accuracy, because I've heard it before. Like, I'm sure that was a big question, and this ties right into how I'm trying, how and why I'm doing this series. Like, yeah, Dad was part of the Last Poets. He was that original percussionist. But look who he was outside of that. The fact that he made the choice to leave the glamour and glitz, to go to itty bitty Goldsboro, North Carolina, with zero African dance culture, if any at all, at that time,
right,
says a lot about his character. So to hear you say that answers a lot. You know, it reaffirms what Mom told me. Mom said the same thing. She said pretty much he was just done with the whole lifestyle of the poets, and he didn't think twice to go to Goldsboro.
That's right.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people that would have let the madness of the entertainment industry dictate their choice over family. And so that's why this is awesome to hear, because, and even what you're saying about family, what he thought about his wife and a kid, I mean, brother, you have just dropped a bomb of inspiration and guidance for me about even my family and how I'm thinking about my wife, my family, you know, because it's real. You know, marriage is real. We all go through it. So just that little bit is invaluable. You know, thank you for that. I didn't expect that one. And I guess that's why I'm asking, because I know I have a good friend and we used to take rides all the time. And I know what fellas talk about in the car. Yeah. Sometimes we share better in a car riding than we do if you're at my house in the living room and we're talking. Something about that car ride. So I was like, man, let me ask brother, what was Dad's conversations like during that trip alone, you know? Yeah.
I mean, and we all, everything, you know, centered on that. And, you know, we joked and had fun and other things, but it all came back to when we were talking to family, all kind of things, you know. So, because when you go back, you don't remember, but your great aunt, who's Aunt Carrie, my mother's sister, auntie, we called Aunt Christine, was your mother's maid of honor at her wedding.
Wow. And I know I got the photos right there. I have the photos. I have some of them here. Because what I did was took a picture of them when I was home in North Carolina, so I didn't have to take them out the books. But I need to look. No, you know what? You're right, because just last week, I thought it was Granny. And Mom said, no, that's Auntie.
That's Auntie, yeah.
I thought it was Granny.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, no. Because I was telling my wife, yeah, that's my grandmother, Granny at Mom and Dad's. She's like, no, boy, that's Auntie.
That's Auntie, that's right.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and Mother was, I think I just remember, who was at the wedding. You know, we all were there. My mother, you remember Aunt Larry? Wow. Mother, sister, now, you know, when I say family, it was your mother's wedding was the big family affair.
Wow. Right there at the house. 1007
North John Street. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's good, man. I'm glad you clarified that, but I remember Mom telling me about Auntie.
Yeah.
But I want to show you this picture and just get I want to see if I could only find 2 photos that I thought you could relate to. Okay. And I want to show them to you and see if you could tell us a little bit about it. So this is one. Okay. So can you see that now?
Oh yeah. That was 1979 at Mineral Park.
Were you here for that? Were you a part of that?
That was the 10th year anniversary. And everything was set up at Mineral Park. It was a reunion for everyone who was part of the
but hold up, I think this is I think Culture Movement was founded in 77, Cousin Charles. This is in 79.
That was 70. Was that 1979?
1979 at Mineral Park.
It wasn't 10 years. No, it wasn't 10 years.
I know the 10-year you're talking about because I have that video with you narrating at Dillard, at the old Dillard building.
Okay.
This is a festival we had in the park, and I
got it.
I think you were part of this because this is where we have some of your photos too.
Thank you. Okay, now I remember. We were at Minnowell Park. We had a flatbed that we performed.
That's right.
We had a flatbed. Okay, today flatbed, and that was one of our first. That was one of the first productions that we had. It says second annual.
Right.
But this was one where we made it a blowout. When I say blowout, it was really big.
You went big.
Other artists and everyone on the stage. I can't remember who all was there, but we had a lot of performances. If I'm not mistaken, we even had we had gospel singers.
Right.
But the feature part of it was the cultural movement performance. And we brought even small children on the stage and other things to dance and everything. And I think you were drumming on this.
Right.
Right? You were drumming on it.
I think I was in my whites. It was summertime, and we have a lot of photos from this. Just when I was looking for your photos for this interview to just talk about, I thought it would bring back memories. We do have a lot of photos from it. And I have, see, that's the program I'm holding, and on the back is the lineup. And I'm sorry I didn't put that other photo up there, Cousin Charles.
Okay.
I can remember, you know what was cool? The one thing I remember, the artists, the visual artists, were able to hang their paintings on the tennis court fences.
All right, that's right.
To display their work and to sell them.
That's right. And the beauty of it too, now I see we had the North Carolina Cultural Arts Coalition. And that's what brought a lot of the visual artists and other things together. That partnership, and again, it validated the cultural movement as an up and coming cultural group. You know, that you needed to be a part of this,
right?
And that we were bringing things to Goldsboro and to North Carolina that were relevant for the history. African American history. Right.
That's good. And do you know that they still, on paper, even though Mom, you know, she I don't want to say shut the company down, but they're not doing any artistic works and performances. Right. But they still exist on paper in North Carolina, 501c3.
And that's what I was saying. And that, again, Allende, that was the purpose of being that nonprofit organization. It gives you permanency. We were here in perpetuity. So we will always be, the cultural movement will always be a part of that history.
That was very smart, yeah.
Because if we were not, there would be no real, well, there would be a record, but that 501c3 being registered in the state of South Carolina gives us real legitimacy of an organization that did things for African American history and culture. And I'm going to give a shout out to Jeff Simmons, who at that time was at the Secretary of State's office. He was went to Howard. I think he got his law degree. I don't know if it was Howard or Duke, but at the time, Jeff was an attorney working with the Secretary of State's office in North Carolina, and he was instrumental in helping us with that 501c3.
Wow! And what was his name?
Jeff Simmons.
Jeff Simmons. Well,
yep, Jeffrey Simmons. He was in class. He lived on North James Street or whatever, but he was in the class with their Uncle Johnny. And and ask your mother about Jeff. And but he was very instrumental, because when from leaving, he carried it through, and and got that done.
So after you left, he kind of took off where you left off and just made sure everything was in place.
The paperwork and everything, yeah, was done.
Oh, that's good. I didn't know that. Thank you, Jeff Simmons. Definitely. Yeah. That's a good shout out. I didn't know that. Another new piece of information.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know, and again, I mean, you got to share. I mean,
you have to.
Those types of
that's
things.
why it's important in a perfect time, you know, trying to take the silver lining out of this whole COVID era. You know, using your time wisely, I think it's important now. And this picture here. Yeah. So that's one I found. Do you remember this?
Willie
Nash.
Willie Nash.
Rest his soul.
Yep. Edna Turner.
Yeah.
That's me and your mother. And I remember that picture.
And do you know, I want to think this is at the Black Arts Festival.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yep. I'm trying
to think. Did Willie Nash, did he perform or he helped coordinate some things for the cultural movement, if I'm not mistaken?
And if he did help coordinate, I'm not sure of that part. I'd have to ask Mom. I know that whenever we had a festival or function, he was right there showing off his artwork, and he was very supportive of the company.
Okay. Well, he may not have coordinated it. Yeah, he was there. He was an artist, and he did work. That's it. Yep, I remember Willie Nash. Yeah,
Willie Nash. Even he did a couple of pieces before he passed.
Right.
Like recently for the company that were absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And even one of those, do you know Mom there was one painting he sold Mom. It was a jazz artist. I think he's playing a trumpet or something. And I remember Mom telling me the funny story. He wanted it back because he didn't have a chance to make prints. And Mom wouldn't give it to him. She's like, I'm keeping that. That's a Willie Nash painting. And it's an original.
One of a kind, Willie Nash. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then, Edna, which was very instrumental in the company, great people. So, I had that picture there and thought I'd show it to you.
Well, thank you. I remember that. Yeah. That was in my early years.
Yeah, and like I said, we have more of you, cousin. It's just I didn't bring them all with me here. And
that's fine. No. That's fine.
How do you think Dad would have I only have two more questions. It's been great. I could talk for hours. How do you think Dad, with what you know of Dad, how do you think he want to have been remembered?
Whoa, that's a heavy question.
Yeah.
First of all, he would want to be remembered more so for being a family man and provider, a good husband and father, a provider for his family, doing what it was necessary to nurture that family bond and unity.
Right.
Then from there, he believed in a greater being. He says, there was a greater being, a spirit, a God that guided us, that we had to pray to and understand that because of that greater spirit or that God, that who directs our lives, and make sure that we're going in the right direction. Then, and I might flip flop and say which is greater.
Right.
He believed in that God directing his life first of all. Then you have that family, and then from there, what can he contribute to the greater good?
Yeah.
And that's why he and your mother started that cultural movement. because he realized that the world needed something. Goldsboro needed something to bring us together.
Yeah.
To pretty much focus. And he didn't start that to have a legacy or anything like that. But he was such a driving force and saying, this is what we need to do.
Right.
And from that's part of the reason why your mother carried it on.
Yeah, because she almost didn't. She tells me stories that she almost didn't, but the members begged her, no, let's keep going.
Yeah. Yeah.
She didn't think she could handle it. Yeah.
Right. That's right. Because it was Matt. Matt was the driving force.
Yeah. Exactly.
And but there were people there that said, no, we're going to make this work. And so that's how he would be. I think he would want to be remembered.
Right.
Not necessarily for the last poets. That just happened to be a part of his life.
That's right.
It's like you were saying in the beginning, that was just a part of his life. He happened to be the drummer, the percussionist for the last poets.
Right.
And there are different seasons and phases of your life. The last poets was a phase and a part of his life. But the overarching thing, meaning of his life, again, to me, was his family and his reach to other people.
Yeah.
He gave himself to a lot of people and a lot of things. And that's how he wanted to be remembered. He wanted to be remembered for his works, for what he did. And to me, that's what he would be remembered for.
Yeah.
A lot of people, if you would ask Edna Turner, a lot of other people there, they probably would say the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, that's good. Thank you. Thank you. And finally, one question that I didn't put on our list when I mailed you, so it's very passionately improvised. If Dad were to knock on your door right now and he was at the door, what would your ideal day be with Dad? If he popped up on you right now, how would you want to spend your day with Dad?
Just sit down and talk to him.
Okay.
We wouldn't have to do anything.
Just come and have a seat. Let's wrap.
We wouldn't have to go out. We wouldn't have to go out and eat. We wouldn't have to go. Of course, just sit and talk, have fun and relate.
Yeah.
And it would almost, I can see it. I can almost guarantee it'd be just like 1970, like 1976.
Yeah.
We would on that ride, that in that truck. We just sit and talk and have fun. It'd be like, brother, what do you want to do? Well, Matt, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, man. Let's just sit and talk.
Yeah.
Well, how about some tea or something? Really, we would just sit and talk, and what hit us, what would come into our minds, and what we would say we'd want to do, we'd say, well, let's do it. And if we didn't do anything, that would be okay.
That'd be okay too. Yeah.
Because again, it was just his presence. Just being around him and talking to him, it would, and you don't get that feeling with everybody. You can just be yourself. You don't have to put on any airs, don't have to do anything.
Right.
Just be yourself. And we just sit down and laugh and talk and have a good time and say, you remember this, remember that. And brothers,
Yeah.
friends, brothers. I mean, and that's the way I can describe it.
That's all right.
That would be my day. He'd come in and I'd scream,
Yeah.
so happy to see him.
Yeah.
Man, look at here, come on in, man.
Yeah.
Oh man, what has been going on? How have you been? What is happening, man? Let me tell you what's been happening with me. Okay?
Yeah.
Oh man, blah blah. What's going, man? I mean, and just sit for hours and hours and hours and just talk. That's all.
Right. That it much understood. I hear you, cousin.
Yeah.
Nothing too involved, just good conversation.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, thank you, brother Charles. Man, thank you, cousin.
You're welcome, Allende. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's my honor. I appreciate you thinking about me.
Oh, the pleasure's mine. The pleasure's mine. You're so. I've always admired your clarity of thought, your thought process, how you break things down, cousin. I don't know if you'll ever remember, but I remember it. You never know how people affect you. There was one time I was in middle school and you were home. We were in the kitchen at 1007, and I had this little girlfriend, and I was going to give her a ring. Okay, it was an old ring mom had. And, I shared it with you. Mom probably told you, look, go talk to that boy about that ring. Because dad wasn't around. I didn't have the father figure 24/7, even though I had great males around my life. I never forget, brother, I sat on the washing machine because whatever grade yeah, and you had a talk with me about me wanting to give this girl this ring. And even though I was young, but you put it so clearly a way I could understand. You broke it down and gave me, now what if? Now you could, but maybe you want to do this at a later time when but do you not never forgot that, Charles? And never. To me, you have always, it's your clarity of thought and sensibility of relaying information that I've always admired. And so not only the fact that you're family, but of course I was like, yeah, I need to call cousin Charles, ask him to do an interview. But, I respect not just the fact you're family, the love and support since day one, but I've always admired that about you. So yeah, it's my pleasure, cousin.
Thank you. Thank you. And you just told me something that really I had forgotten about.
Yeah, I'll never forget it because I respected it so much.
Well, thank you.
You brought me back, man. You brought me back. And that's me, the big dreamer, the big go big. But you brought me back in a way that made total sense. I'll never forget it. Thanks.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Much love to you, man.
Much love to you. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you, man. We're gonna talk soon.
Okay.